What's up guys, ATCG here, welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck of the Day, and today we're profiling probably the most fun favorite deck of all time, next to Blue Eyes, and it's Dark Magician, with the brand new support, and this deck also gets more support in the upcoming Legendary Duelist set, but we'll have to wait until January for that, but it's really great support, so expect an update for this deck when the time comes. But until then, I didn't want you guys to keep waiting for the new support come out, so this is how the deck probably is at its best right now, and how it probably should be played. So let's begin. We have 3 Dark Magicians. Of course, each one of us has to pick their 3 most favorite artworks to play in the deck. I disagree with playing only one artwork, but if you have a different opinion, then you're free to do whatever you want with your deck. But these 3 are the ones I love the most. And of course it's Dark Magician, so you have to run a 3, because you special summon them a lot and you keep up using your Dark Magic Circle to banish your opponent's monsters, and it's very important to have all 3 active at all times. 1 Dark Magician Girl, because I play Bond between teacher and student. I know a lot of people prefer to play the deck a lot of trap heavy build. This is a trap heavy build, but I do think Bond between teacher and student gives you a lot more aggressive plays, because sometimes the deck struggles with dealing more damage. And because Bond gets your Magician Girl from your hand, deck, or graveyard, you don't need to play more than 1. Maybe when the new support comes out, you will be able... it'll be able to play more than 1 Dark Magician Girl because of the new trap card that keeps switching over Dark Magician Girl to negate monster effects. But until then, just 1. 2 Apprentice Illusion Magician to search your Dark Magician. I don't run Duality in the deck, a lot of people do, but contradicting with that, and another card I run in the deck, which is a very powerful card, so I don't think Duality is that good for this deck. But this, you discard 1, special summon it, and you get your Dark Magician from your deck. 3 Magician's Rod, searching all your spells and traps that list Dark Magician, very good card. It's the only normal summon of the deck, so it'll never be cloggy, even if you have more than 1. It's really good for the grind game, because you get to search whatever you want, and can also search Bond between teacher and student in case you can resolve it. 1 tech that I have in the deck is Witchcrafter Heine. It's a card that you can special summon from your deck with Magician's Navigation, because it's a level 7 Dark Spellcaster, and this deck sometimes can have dead spells in the hand. This is a way to use them, because quick effect, you can discard 1 spell card from your hand and pop 1 monster your opponent controls. Actually, it pops 1 face-up card, so it's even better than that. And it's also 1 more negation that the deck kind of struggles with. When you have Magician's Navigation, especially if you don't open Circle, then Magician's Navigation doesn't do much. But when you special summon Heine from the deck, then that's when actually 1 more interruption that you can have on the field. And 3 Ash, because it's the most generic hand drop, so I will play Ash whenever I can. 3 Circle. You excavate the top 3 upon activation, you get to search 1 Dark Magician or 1 spell or trap that lists Dark Magician, and when Dark Magician is summoned, you can banish 1 card your opponent controls, so that's the main interruption of the deck when you combine it with Eternal Soul or Magician Navigation, and sometimes you can have multiples on the field to make sure your opponent doesn't deal with them, because Cosmic Cyclone is everywhere, so you need to have multiples if you want to keep banishing your opponent's cards. 2 Bond. This card is kind of slow right now, because there's not a consistent way to get Dark Magician on the field turn 1. When the new support comes out with Magician's Souls, this will become way better, because you can special summon Dark Magician, you can send it from the deck to the grave and then bring it back during the same turn, so you can make this live during turn 1. But I think this is still a really good card to not put in your deck, because you can have a defensive play with it, you can have an offensive play with it. It's really, really good. So I think even if it could be dead sometimes, it's still worth running, and if you absolutely don't need it, then you can pitch it with Heine to pop a card. I play 1 Burning Magic and 1 Burning Attack. These serve different purposes, that's why I have both of them, because Dark Burning Magic is a quick play, so if you set it with Bond, then you cannot activate it during the same turn, so if you have to use it offensively, then Dark Burning Attack is the card to go with, because it can pop all opponent's monsters, and since it's a normal spell, you can activate it during the same turn you set it with Bond. So that's why I think having both of them is very important. 1 Dark Magic Attack. You can also set this with Bond, but this is also searchable with Eternal Soul, so it's even better. So you can pop your opponent's full back row. And 1 Illusion Magic, because it's a searchable way to get to your Dark Magicians, and it can also help you dodge Impermanence and Veiler. For the generic spells, play 3 Super Poly. This is the main reason I don't think Duality is good in the deck. If you don't want to play Super Poly, then you can also play Duality. because you don't special summon a lot during your turn, you only Apprentice Illusion, but if you have Super Poly, then you cannot play Duality. But this card is very powerful in this format not to run in it, especially in a deck that tries to control the board, which also helps you do a lot of plays. And if your opponent doesn't have two darks on the field, Dark Magician or Apprentice Illusion and Magician's Rod are also dark, so if your opponent summons just one dark, then you can fuse with your own monster, so it's not like it'll be dead. And 3 Extravagance. I know it's still expensive, but you can possibly play Desires, but it could be a bit risky because of the Magician Girl. If you have just one, then you might banish her and your bonds will be dead, but if you can afford it, then you can possibly replace Bond with more traps and run Desires instead of Extravagance. But I still think the draw power is very important for this deck because it doesn't have a lot of ways to keep getting advantage. It just gets Dark Magicians back from the graveyard, but during the late game you will get outgrinded by those better grind decks. Now for the traps, 3 Magician Navigation. This is the best trap in the deck. It's better than Eternal Soul because Eternal Soul, while being really good, is also the lose button of the deck because it has that weird drawback that when it leaves the field, it blows up all your monsters. But Navigation gets you 2 monsters on the field, and it also has the graveyard effect that you can banish it when you have a Dark Magician to negate one of your opponent's spells or traps. So that's also really good. And it gets your Heine from the deck, so you can possibly have 2 disruptions if you have Circle. You can banish one with Circle, and then with Heine you can pop one of your opponent's card. And usually against most decks, that should be enough to keep them from killing you at least in one turn. Even though Eternal Soul can be the lose button of the deck, I still think it's important to play 3, because you can pretty much keep recycling your Dark Magicians every turn. It also searches your Dark Magic Attack to blow up back row. It searches Thousand Knives, but I don't think that's worth running, because it just pops one monster, and Destruction is not the most relevant thing right now. So if you want a card that can possibly pop a monster, you can also run Thousand Knives, but this card is one that keeps you the advantage during the late game, and so it's important to run a 3. And you could play the fusions to try to protect it, but you would kind of need to play Magicalized Fusion for that, which is not that alive during the early game. When we get the new cards, maybe the fusion monster will be more relevant, but for now, I think just praying that your opponent doesn't destroy this card is the way to go. 3 Impermanence, along with Ash, this makes for 6 hand traps. I don't think you need to run more. Ghost Ogre is not that good this format. You can also play Diddy Crow, which is nice. Veiler could also be a good one if you don't have Impermanence. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think you should only run Nibiru in this deck, because Nibiru, at least, it could be dead. And this deck does have some cards that could be dead as well, so it will make your hands even more cluggy. And 3 Summon Limit, because this deck does never summon more than twice, even during the late game. You usually summon 1 Dark Magician during your turn, 1 during your opponent's turn, then you can possibly summon 1 Rod, so that's maximum 2 summons. So this card can lock your opponent even during the early game, but even during the late game when they're trying to push, so it's a really good card. You cannot run, there can be only 1 in this deck, because you play a lot of spellcasters and you cannot have just 1 on the field, but Summon Limit is a good replacement. Now for the extra deck, aside from the Super Poly targets, the extra deck doesn't come up that much, but you still need to have some. So just one Link Spider, because you can link away your Dark Magician, so you can bring it back with Eternal Soul to banish another card. That's why Link Spider is here. 1 Hita, because I have Ash in the deck, and sometimes you can possibly summon Ash and make Hita, steal a Phoenix, and then go for Link 4. 1 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix, and 1 Unicorn. Nothing too special about the Nightmares. 1 Ingirsu, because of Link Spider, you can possibly summon Link Spider, then summon a Nightmare under it, and then you can make an Ingirsu and possibly send one of your dead spells or traps or one of your multiple copies of Circles to the grave, so you don't even have to use an Ingirsu and still have a 25 beater on the field. Borrelsword, because again, like I said, this deck struggles sometimes with dealing damage, so you need to be able to use Borrelsword. Borreload, this deck does search a lot, so Thunder Dragon is kind of a bad matchup, especially if you go second. But if you can manage to get a lot of monsters on the field, then maybe Borreload is one way to go. And you can also play Mind Control if you want, in case you're afraid of going second with the deck. 1 Apollosa, because the deck doesn't have any inherent way of negating card effects, at least not yet. When the new support comes out, then we'll have a good trap card that can negate monster effects. But for now, it just it's a pinpoint removal for just the disruption of the deck. So Apollosa can be helpful if you can summon her, even with just 2 materials sometimes. 1 Bomber, mainly because of Hita, because if you steal one of your opponent's Link 2s from the graveyard, It counts from the graveyard, so you cannot summon Abramax, but you can still summon Bomber. But I still run Abramax because it can come up and some decks cannot deal with it. I play some rank 7s, play Big Eye and Draco Sack. You can also play Ebon Illusion of Magician if you want. It doesn't come up more often than these, so that's why I don't play it. But these are generically good. Draco Sack, because of the effect of tributing, it's a cost, so you can pop Floodgates or you can pop a Romantic Monster. And Big Eye because you can steal something. And I play 2 Venoms because it's the most generic one. You can also play Violet Chimera if you want, if you think a lot of Salamangreats are going to be in the place you're going to do. But Venom is the one that you can also use when you use your own monsters, in case you need to push or to have 2 Dark Magicians on the field and you attack with both and you use Super Poly during the battle phase, fuse both of them and make Venom. And that's 78, so that's close to an OTK. And also, if you have Extravagance with Super Poly and you're afraid of banishing your Venoms, because Extravagance says that you can use it at the start of your main phase 1, you can use Super Poly in the draw phase or in the standby phase, so you can fuse first for Venom and then use Extravagance to make sure that you'll always have a target for Super Poly. But yeah, that's the deck. It's a really fun deck. It's kind of the control version because the Blue Eyes deck is the aggro version, so it's like Yugi and Kaiba, 2 different sides of the same coin. The deck is still a bit... It needs a little bit more, but the new support that comes out in the new Legendary Duelist, I think, gives the deck exactly what it needs. A way to special summon Dark Magician turn 1, a good fusion spell that is searchable, so you can use your good extra deck monsters to protect your Eternal Soul, and a trap card that negates monster effects. So I think that's exactly what the deck needs. We'll see how it'll unfold during the next months, but until then, this is what the deck should be like, and we'll have an update once support comes out. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, see you next time.